Last question. I'm gonna let you go. Let's circle back to last week because you were there. You were in the press box. I watched it on TV. It looked fun and it looked pretty sentimental, maybe a little emotional as well. I'm talking about Ryan Miller night, of course. Kind of just take fans who maybe weren't in the building last Thursday behind the scenes a little bit. Like, what was that vibe like? It just felt like it was an important thing. And let me extend the question too. Do you see now that this went off and it just looked like a complete success organizationally? Do you see maybe a couple more guys not too far down the road getting their number in the banner and earn the rafters and stuff like that?
As far as other guys getting their numbers hung up, I'm not sure about that, honestly. Sabres Hall of Fame is a whole other thing. Like I think we'll see a few guys, because I think Miller is the first guy to go in the Sabres Hall of Fame since 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a long time. It's a long time. But you know what? So many of the guys that you're like, oh, well, these guys will be part of it. You needed them to retire because you're thinking about it and it's like, oh, they're still playing. Oh, okay. Well, let's just button that up for a little bit. But one of the guys that talked about Ryan, that night, Thomas Vanek, to me, he's the next guy that
right.
goes to the Sabre Hall of Fame. So as far as I'm concerned, he 100% deserves it. 40 goal scorer. He was so great. He was such a great player here. He got a lot of crap towards the end, because he deferred probably way too much, and even joked about that to us, which he's probably passed it up a little too much. He's like, yeah, okay, that's good one. That was all of our criticism about you, Thomas, is that you just kept. It's like, oh, he's got a great opportunity. Oh no, passed it to whoever is on the other side. Cool, but the vibe was just. It was such a warm vibe because this is the first guy of that generation of Sabres that's getting honored. And so many of the guys that were there, I mean, a lot of them are guys that were Sabres not all that long ago. I got talking quite a bit with Drew Stafford, after the game and chatting with him and catching up. And it was just like, he told me, he goes, I think we had almost the entire 2008, 2009 team here tonight. And I'm like, no kidding. He's like, yeah, it was all basically all of us, and then JP Dumont too. Because JP was there when Ryan started. So everybody, JP could be the mayor of Nashville and Buffalo at the same time, and everybody would be like, yep, that's good. We like that. But it was just everybody. It was just everybody coming together, and the appreciation for Ryan was so high. All these guys, you don't show up to a thing, and think like, screw this guy, whatever. I'm here for the party. Like these guys all love him. And like those guys were really tight. So many of those guys came up together, like Pominville, Vanek, and Miller all coming up from Rochester together. Derek Roy too. Like, all these guys, it was just, it was kind of like a class reunion, but like a good one that people look forward to, not one where it's kind of like, geez, this thing's coming up again. It was totally different, and the guys, all the guys loved it, and like for the fans, I saw a lot of people saying like shed a few tears during that, and I'm like, yeah, I get it,
yeah,
I 100% get it, because like that it goes back to the time when they were last good, and Miller was the guy that wore his heart on his sleeve every time. Like he was a very emotional player. I know he got a lot of crap, when he was a rookie, because there were some times after games where he'd be, shedding a couple tears and just being mad at himself. But I mean, don't you want guys like that? Don't you want guys that are that into it that they just get like so pissed? It's like Jamal Williams with Detroit. Like that dude went through 5 emotions in a post-game interview, but you're like, I love that guy. Like you pull for people that are like that. And hearing the stories from guys talking about how Miller was in practice, how he would get pissed when guys would score on him, or guys would just be like, I never scored on him. Like, it was wild. It was wild to hear that, because you're like, wow, that's exactly like what Hasek was when he was here. And there's like all the same stories. And Miller was a huge Hasek fan, which of course he was. He and I are like the same age basically. So like, yeah, I was a Hasek fan too. Cool. Like, that's a perspective I can understand.
Right. Sure.
So it was just really neat, and it would to have those guys back and being welcomed back, and have the ceremony be such a good ceremony. Everything about it was great. The videos that they did for him, the message from Hasek that they got for Ryan. He's like, welcome to the club. Holy shit, dude. Like, that's awesome. Like, yes, like these are the 2 greatest goalies in team history. And they're like, yep, we're here together. Like it's what you want. Like that's the stuff that people love. And it was just such a, it's not an overdue recognition because Ryan just retired like within the last year or so. But the fact that they jumped on it so fast to be like, nope, Sabre Hall of Fame, his numbers going up, was such a relief, because I think if it was something that got dragged out for a while, then you start getting, it gives credence to a lot of people that were just like, well, he never won anything. He wasn't clutch. He didn't win a gold medal. Like all that crap. Like, you don't need to give those people any fuel. They're going to be angry about life forever. Miller was he's the winningest goalie in team history. He's the winningest American goalie of all time. Like, I don't know what else you can say about the guy. I mean, his 2010 season is maybe the greatest season of goaltending I've seen since Hasek.
Yeah.
Him at the Olympics. I mean, geez, shit luck. I mean, Canada's loaded, USO is loaded. Stuff happens, but like him winning the Vezina that year was that's this open and shut case. He was brilliant that entire season. And the only reason the Sabres were really in the playoff mix that year, or were in the playoffs, was because Miller was awesome. So, it was great to see. And, Miller's a guy that I, before I got into doing media stuff, he's a goal. I freaking love Miller. Super guy. I'm happy I was here for, one season. Well, 3/4 of a season with him, because, it was a bad year, 13-14, and then he gets traded. And, when he came to the podium to talk to us after the ceremony, he goes, wow, last time I was here was not for his greatest situation. I'm like, oh shit, you're right. Like, that was a horrible night. Like, Miller was upset. He's crying. He was saying goodbye to Buffalo, and he's getting ushered out of the building because the trade happened before a game.
Yeah.
Like, but that's like the night and day difference between how things used to be run, where, you're trading your franchise goalie, the most winningest goalie that you've had in team history, and you're trading him, a half hour before a game starts. Like, really? And then you're like rushing him out the door, having like a, make do press conference, and then off he goes, never to, not to never be seen again, but seen very sparsely from then on because he played out west. So, it's, but it was great. It was such a great night. And I just wish
I got sounds going on here.
What's going on here? The play it off music there. I'm
not playing you off. This ain't the Oscars, man. I hit the wrong button there, man.
But but I don't know. Like they started the charity foundation for Miller. Everything with with Carly's Heroes and Carly's Kids, or I forget the name of it. I'm very sorry for that. But everything with Roswell that he's done, and now they've added to it, and I'm like, that's exactly what that's what he was about. Like everything about him was about that. It
felt genuine. He felt like he was genuinely happy for the honor. He was genuinely happy to be in Buffalo. I believe him when he talks about how much he loves this city and how this will always feel like home to him. I don't think it's bullshit player talk. I think it's legit. I think it's authentic. It was great. Again, you were there. You saw it in person. I only got to watch it on TV, but it brought back the feels for me. You talked about, I'm not going to go as far as I got teary-eyed, but I certainly felt some emotions watching it, and it brought me back to a place where the Sabres were a lot of fun.